Extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Erin is finally starting to move to the north. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasa with this Monday night update on the tropics, taking a look at that visible satellite of the Atlantic Basin as the sun starts to set. Obviously, the only real game in town is our very powerful Category 4 Hurricane Erin sitting right there north of the Turks and Caicos, offshore the southeastern Bahamas. It has slowed and started the northwest turn, and that should continue to move northwest, north, and then northeast. But man, what a close call for areas there of North Carolina. We still have tropical storm watches and warnings out, and I will talk about that. We also have a wave off Africa here that's showing a little bit of interesting focus features today, and we're going to keep an eye on that as it moves towards the west-northwest. Another wave leaving Africa. We're getting closer and closer into the heart of hurricane season. Here's the latest on Hurricane Erin as of 5 p.m., and this is from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. Hurricane Erin was at 24.0 north, 71.3 west, winds still 140 miles per hour, making it a very intense Category 4 hurricane, moving northwest at 10, so it was west, then it was west-northwest, now it's moving northwest, and that should become more north-northwest through time, and it will turn and miss the eastern seaboard sometime on Thursday. Nevertheless, it is still a very powerful storm. We have a tropical storm warning in effect for the Turks and Caicos Islands, the southeastern Bahamas, and a tropical storm watch for the central Bahamas, and we now have a tropical storm watch from Beaufort Inlet to Duck in North Carolina, including Pamlico Sound. So you guys are under a tropical storm watch because what we think is going to happen, and that'll probably be changed to a warning eventually, is as the hurricane moves northwest, it's going to continue to expand in size. So those orange colors here are tropical storm force winds. So if the center of the hurricane misses Cape Hatteras, you could still get into those tropical storm force winds, and that is why you are under that watch right now. Taking a look at the visible satellite as the sun starts to set, what a beautiful beast. Look at the eye right in there. It is a little disheveled. It is undergoing some northerly shear here, kind of smushing it a bit. Not as favorable conditions as it had, nevertheless, around that core, Category 4 conditions. And there's the Turks and Caicos Islands and the southeastern Bahamas right outside the cone of hurricane winds. Very, very lucky that this thing is now turning northwest. Miami, you're right here. Look at how close you are to a Category 4 beast. 1926, Miami got wiped out by a Category 4. Andrew in 1992, Category 5 missed to the south. One of these days it's going to happen again. It's been 99 years for downtown Miami, but if this thing were sailing west, we would have one of the worst hurricanes in American history. Thankfully, this beast is going to remain out at sea. Nevertheless, it is starting to show the weakening on this imagery here. Note the dry air that has entrained into the hurricane. That is very good news this evening. That means it should at least hold steady or even weaken. But that might not necessarily be a good thing because it's going to be a big hurricane spatially. And so if you have Category 3 winds far out, sometimes that's worse than a tight-coiled Category 4. The European model shows that it's going to make that turn that we're already seeing commence, and then it's going to turn out between Bermuda and Cape Hatteras, and even south of Nova Scotia, and then south of Newfoundland. Very, very lucky that this monster storm is going to remain out at sea. We can already see that here on the water vapor loop. We have the high pressure to the north that's been steering it, and now there's a break here in the ridging, right here, this little gap. And that's where Erin is finding this little path where she's going to slide through. It got a little scary there for some people in the Turks and Caicos because when the hurricane slowed down, which happens right before they round a ridge and head out to sea, we saw some people saying, is this thing going to miss the cutoff? Because if it misses that little opening, then it would eventually end up back west, but that is not going to happen. We're going to see the hurricane go right in this weakness in that direction. Very, very good news. Look at that dynamic outflow southwest towards the southern hemisphere. Very, very favorable conditions there on the right side. But notice here, these clouds blowing towards the hurricane, that is unfavorable. That is wind shear, and that's why the core is a little bit ragged today. But still a Category 4 hurricane and still very much a threat, especially with rip currents. Look at this rip current map. Anywhere from West Palm Beach all the way up to Cape Cod. High rip currents, very, very dangerous. You will get sucked out if you are in the water, and that says nothing about the surf. You're going to have crashing waves on top of that as Erin pulls up and out. So just a very nasty couple of days along the eastern seaboard of the United States. We're going to have storm surge too. We're going to have tidal surge. Look at this, 4 feet in areas from Duck down to Cape Lookout, and that's especially going to occur. Number one, the closer the hurricane gets, the worse it's going to be. But if the eye passes offshore and you have the counterclockwise flow around the hurricane, it's going to push that water towards the coast. And so the onshore flow there, 1 to 3 feet from Paramore Island down to Duck, and then 1 to 3 feet from Cape Lookout all the way to the South Santee River. And that includes areas like Cape Fear, Cape Lookout, Myrtle Beach. You guys are all in for the potential up to 3 feet of storm surge, but the worst will be on the Outer Banks, and we have had some evacuations in Dare County. Again, you want to be away from the water. The wind shouldn't be too bad, although tropical storm conditions up to 70 miles an hour, you could deal with some nastiness. I mean, Erin's going to give you a little nastiness, but the great thing about it is that the Category 3 and 4 conditions are going to remain out at sea between Hatteras and Bermuda. After Erin, do we see anything on the horizon? Well, we have a disturbance that's a 60% medium chance for development the next 7 days, and it looks like this could become a tropical depression as it moves west to west-northwest across the central Atlantic and approach the Leeward Islands by Friday. So we're going to watch this wave, see if it can organize, and does it follow in the footsteps of Erin and get swept out? That's very possible. Does it kind of stay south and head towards the Greater Antilles or the Caribbean? That's possible as well. Right now, it's just too early to say. Taking a look off Africa, there is the feature we're watching right now. Not very organized, but neither was Erin, and now Erin is a monster. And then there's a huge wave leaving Africa with more behind it as hurricane season 2025 keeps rolling on. So again, we'll continue to watch powerful Hurricane Erin, a Category 4, one-time Category 5 hurricane. It is what we call a classic Cape Verde hurricane, where they start near the Cape Verde Islands and they take that long, treacherous journey towards land. The great thing is that most of them, including Erin, will be out to sea and we won't have to deal with it anymore. But until then, rip currents, high swells, and those tropical storm watches and warnings. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on Hurricane Erin, and I'll be back with more coverage of Erin next time.